Italy had always lived in your imagination, a place of crumbling ruins, sunlit piazzas, pasta twirled with perfect precision. You'd seen it in movies, admired it in paintings, and now, finally, the ticket is booked. You're going. Not someday, now. But as your excitement builds, so does the overwhelm. Italy isn't just one destination, it's 20 regions, each with its own dialect, cuisine, and rhythm of life. You start with the obvious: Rome, Florence, Venice, the holy trinity of Italian travel. They're the stuff of postcards and dreams, and of course, they'll be on your list. But then you dig deeper. You discover Puglia, with its whitewashed towns and olive groves. Trentino, where the Alps cradle glassy lakes. Emilia-Romagna, birthplace of Parmesan and prosciutto. Suddenly, your map overflows with possibility. You realize the real Italy isn't just in the big names, it's in the little surprises between them. You learn to balance it out, mix in the famous cities, but make room for day trips to nearby gems. Orvieto from Rome, Bologna from Florence, Verona from Venice. You won't try to see it all, you'll see it well. Then comes the question of timing. July sounds romantic. Gelato under the sun, long days and open piazzas, until you read the warnings: scorching heat, thick crowds, high prices. You decide instead to come in spring or fall, when the air is soft, the streets less packed, and locals still linger in the evenings. Even winter begins to tempt you. Smaller crowds, lower prices, and a chance to see Italy as Italians do, with Christmas lights glowing in medieval lanes and snow-dusting rooftops in the north. Your trip hasn't even started, but something has already shifted. This isn't just a vacation. It's a story waiting to unfold, one that you'll shape not through checklists, but through curiosity, timing, and intention. You close your laptop and smile. You're not just flying to Italy. You're about to step into a living, breathing masterpiece, and every choice you make will paint the path ahead. You're ready to plan, but before booking anything, one question matters most. When should you visit Italy? The truth is, Italy changes with the seasons. It's not just the weather, it's the energy of the place. Spring in Rome doesn't feel like summer in Florence or autumn in Venice. Each moment of the year carries its own mood, and you begin to realize the season you choose will shape your experience. You start with summer, because that's what most people imagine: sun-drenched coastlines, lazy afternoons with limoncello, romantic gondola rides as the sun sets late into the evening. But then you dig deeper. You read that summer, especially July and August, brings intense heat, masses of tourists, and many locals leaving town for their own holidays. Ferragosto, the mid-August holiday, often means shuttered shops and empty cities, so you look earlier. Spring, April to early June, starts to feel like the sweet spot. Cities are alive, but not overwhelmed. Flowers bloom across Tuscany. Outdoor dining reopens. Even the water in Venice smells better. The sun is warm, the evenings are crisp, and you can still find a quiet corner to enjoy a cappuccino without a crowd behind you. Then comes autumn, and something about it lingers. September into October. The grape harvest in the countryside. Golden light across stone villages. Fewer tourists, cooler weather, and a rhythm that feels both festive and relaxed. You imagine wandering through a market in Florence with the scent of roasted chestnuts in the air. You think, this might be it. Even winter tempts you now, especially December. Italy doesn't go big with neon and excess. Instead, it glows with quiet magic. Twinkling lights in ancient towns, Christmas markets under Renaissance facades, fewer crowds, lower prices, and a more local experience. One thing is clear: there's no wrong time to visit Italy, just the right time for the kind of trip you want. You picture yourself under a blossoming tree in April, or sipping wine on a terrace in October, or wrapped in a scarf on a frosty Roman evening. The seasons aren't just a backdrop, they're a character in your story. And now, you're ready to choose the one that fits you best. Italy may be a feast for the senses: art, architecture, food. But it's also rich with unspoken rules, little social rhythms that shape daily life. And if you learn to dance with them, Italy will open its arms to you even more. First, forget the stereotype that Italians are always loud and dramatic. Yes, they speak with passion and move with flair. But beneath that is a deep sense of courtesy, ritual and respect for tradition. You'll notice it in the way shopkeepers greet every customer with a buongiorno, or how people dress neatly, even just to run errands. You learn quickly, manners matter. Say buongiorno in the morning, buonasera in the afternoon, and always greet when entering a store, even a tiny one. If you skip it, you might not get the warm welcome you were expecting. And then there's la bella figura, the Italian idea of making a good impression. It's not about wealth or fashion labels. It's about carrying yourself well, dressing with intention, and treating others with dignity. You realize that wearing flip-flops or athletic clothes around town might feel out of place. You don't need to dress up, just don't dress down. You also begin to understand how things flow in daily life. Meals are not rushed. Lunch can stretch over hours. Dinner might not start until 8 p.m. Coffee isn't a to-go situation, it's a ritual. Italians stand at the bar, drink their espresso in a few focused sips, and then they move on. You try it once, and suddenly Starbucks feels like a distant memory. You make peace with the fact that schedules are flexible. Buses might be late. Museums might close early without notice. A shop that should be open just isn't. It's not a mistake. It's just Italy. You stop resisting and start flowing. And yes, you will get stared at. Not out of rudeness, but curiosity. Italians are observant. If you're wearing something unusual or speaking loudly in a quiet piazza, expect a few looks. You learn to smile, soften your tone, and take it in stride. Because here's the secret. Once you stop trying to control Italy and start letting Italy change you, something beautiful happens. You don't just visit the country. You start to belong in it. You're not just here to see one city. You want to move, to discover the layers of Italy. From hilltop villages to coastal towns, from ancient ruins to modern art hubs. But how do you get from place to place in a country so rich and varied? The answer is simple: trains. Italy's train system is not only vast, it's efficient, scenic, and surprisingly affordable. You begin to familiarize yourself with the two main types: the fast, sleek, high-speed trains, and the slower, charming regional ones. You read about Trenitalia and Italo, the two main companies for high-speed routes. These trains connect the major cities, Rome, Florence, Venice, Milan, in comfort and style. Book early, and you can find tickets for a fraction of the price. But wait too long, and the prices creep up fast. You download their apps, mark the routes, and plan your trips like a local commuter. Then there are the regional trains, perfect for shorter, local journeys. They're slower, yes, but they offer a closer look at Italian life. School kids hopping off at rural stops, olive trees flashing past your window. Tiny towns with names you can't pronounce, yet will never forget. But there's a catch: validation. On regional trains, if you have a paper ticket, you must stamp it in the little yellow or green box before boarding. If you forget, you risk a fine. No excuses, no exceptions. You make a mental note: buy, stamp, then board. If you plan to explore the countryside, renting a car is also an option, especially in places like Tuscany or Sicily. But you brace yourself. Driving in Italy is not for the timid. Narrow roads, confident drivers, endless roundabouts. And don't forget the ZTL zones, restricted areas in city centers that can lead to big fines if you drive through them without permission. In cities, you embrace walking. Italian towns were built for feet, not wheels. Winding alleys, hidden courtyards, steps leading to unexpected views. Every wrong turn feels like a gift. And when you need to go farther, buses, trams, and metro systems are easy once you learn to buy your ticket at a tobacco shop and validate it before boarding. With each new mode of travel, Italy opens up like a storybook. You're not just going places. You're moving through centuries, regions, and rhythms. And the journey? It's just as unforgettable as the destination. By now, your route is mapped out. Rome to Florence, perhaps Venice, then somewhere quieter, maybe the Amalfi Coast or the Tuscan Hills. But another question arises. Where will you sleep? Italy doesn't do bland hotels well, and that's a good thing. Here, even your accommodation can be part of the story. You start in the cities, where the options are wide. Boutique hotels, many set in historic buildings, offer charm, location, and thoughtful touches. You discover that chain hotels exist, but they're often tucked away behind the scenes, far from the piazzas and energy you came for. Instead, you look for locally owned B&Bs, where the host might greet you with a homemade pastry or give you tips only a true Roman or Florentine would know. Breakfast is usually included. Expect strong coffee, fruit, and fresh cornetti. It's not buffet-style excess. It's quality over quantity, with a view of terracotta rooftops or a cobbled street below. Then, for a more immersive experience, you find agriturismo, working farms that offer guest rooms in the countryside. Think vineyards, olive groves, homemade pasta, and a pool overlooking rolling hills. You could stay in Tuscany or Umbria and never feel the need to leave the property. The food alone, cooked by someone's nonna, using ingredients grown steps away, is reason enough to book. In coastal areas, you discover family-run guest houses perched on cliffs or tucked into small towns. In places like Positano or Cinque Terre, space is limited and prices climb, but even the tiniest room often comes with a balcony and a view of the sea. You realize that in Italy, what a room lacks in size, it makes up for in soul. If you're on a budget, don't worry. Hostels in Italy have evolved. Many now offer private rooms and stylish common spaces, especially in cities and university towns. And then there's Airbnb, a good option for longer stays or traveling in groups, though you keep an eye out for hidden fees and local restrictions. No matter where you stay, you remind yourself of one thing: location matters. You want to walk out your door and feel like you're in Italy, not outside looking in. Because in a country where every stone tells a story, your accommodation isn't just a place to rest. It's a place to belong. You thought you knew Italian food. You've had pizza. You've had pasta. But as you begin your journey through Italy, you quickly realize you've never really eaten like an Italian. It starts with the timing. You learn that Italians eat on their own schedule. Lunch, often between 1 and 2:30 p.m. dinner, rarely before 8 p.m., sometimes as late as 9. If you show up to a restaurant at 5 p.m. looking for a meal, you'll likely find closed doors and confused stares. The kitchens are resting, and so should you. You adjust your rhythm. You grab a late morning espresso and cornetto at the bar, standing like locals do, never sitting unless you're ready to pay more. Around midday, you start to hear forks clinking in trattorias, and you follow your nose. Lunch might be your biggest meal of the day. Maybe a plate of pasta, alla carbonara, a salad, and a glass of wine. You feel a little drowsy afterward. And that's when you learn about the riposo, the afternoon pause when shops and restaurants may close for a few hours. It's not a nap for everyone, but it is a moment of stillness. You begin to appreciate the quiet. Then comes aperitivo, the sacred Italian pre-dinner ritual. Around 6 or 7 p.m., bars fill with friends, sipping spritzes or negronis. You order a drink, and a small plate of snacks appears. Olives, crisps, maybe focaccia. Sometimes, in cities like Milan, it's practically a buffet. You sip, nibble, and watch the light shift across the piazza. When it's time for dinner, you sit down for the full experience. Antipasto, primo, secondo, contorno, and dolce. You don't have to order everything. Few locals do, but you respect the flow. Pasta is the first course, not the main. And meat or fish often comes without sides, so you add a contorno if you want vegetables. You resist the urge to ask for substitutions or customizations. In Italy, the dish is the chef's creation. You trust it, and are almost always glad you did. And yes, coffee rules matter. Cappuccino is for breakfast. After lunch or dinner, it's espresso only. No milk. Ask for a cappuccino at night and expect a raised eyebrow, or a polite smile if you're lucky. With every bite, you realize, this isn't just food. This is ritual, rhythm, identity. And for the first time, you're not just eating in Italy, you're eating like an Italian. By now, you're starting to feel it, the rhythm of Italian daily life. And at the very heart of it, coffee and gelato. It starts in the morning. Italians don't grab a latte in a to-go cup and rush off. Instead, they stop, even if just for 2 minutes. They step into a bar, stand at the counter, and order an espresso or cappuccino. No fancy syrups, no triple foam. Just strong, smooth coffee served fast. You try it for the first time and feel both awake and involved, like you're part of something much bigger than a caffeine fix. You quickly learn the rules. Milk-based coffees like cappuccino or cafe latte are for the morning only. After 11 a.m., it's all about espresso, or as Italians call it, simply un caffè. No takeaway cups. Sure, you might find them in touristy areas, but Italians drink their coffee where they buy it. It's not just a drink, it's a pause. Then there's the question of price. At the bar, your espresso might cost €1 or €1.20, but sit at a table, and it could double. It's not a scam, it's the service. You're paying to sit, to linger, to watch life move by. You learn to choose depending on your mood. Later in the day, especially when the sun is out, you discover your second ritual, gelato. But not just any gelato. You want the real thing. Artisanal, made fresh daily, no neon colors or flashy displays. You skip the towering piles of brightly colored scoops and look for places where the gelato is stored in covered metal tubs, where flavors are natural. Pistachio that's pale green, not electric. Lemon that tastes like lemon, not candy. You try flavors you can't pronounce. Stracciatella, nocciola, amarena, baccio. And then you try them again. One scoop turns into two. Afternoon strolls become gelato pilgrimages. You watch locals, even grown adults, enjoy gelato without shame, at all times of day. You smile, because in Italy, pleasure isn't guilty. It's built in. And that's when it hits you. The coffee, the gelato, the pace, none of it is rushed. It's all about being present, about savoring. Not just what's in your cup or cone, but where you are and who you're becoming while you're here. You're falling in love with Italy, the food, the rhythm, the language you're starting to piece together word by word. But now it's time to focus on something a little less romantic, yet just as important. Staying smart with your money and staying safe on the streets. You begin with currency. Italy uses the euro, and while cards are widely accepted, especially in cities, cash is still king in many situations. You learn that small trattorias, local markets, and even some museums prefer cash or have a minimum for card use. So you always carry a little cash in your pocket, just in case. Then there's tipping. It's a question most travelers wrestle with. But here in Italy, tipping is not expected the way it is in North America. If you leave €1 or €2 for great service at a cafe, or 5 to 10% at a nice restaurant, it's appreciated, but not required. You learn to check the receipt. If you see coperto, that's a cover charge for bread and table service. If there's a servizio line, service has already been added. No need to double tip. You're also aware of pickpockets, especially in busy tourist areas like Rome's Termini station, Florence's Duomo, or the Venice Vaporetto water bus. You don't let it ruin your mood, but you stay alert. You wear a crossbody bag, keep your phone zipped away, and never leave belongings on a cafe table. It becomes second nature. A bigger surprise? Scams are rare, but they exist. The bracelet on the wrist trick, the fake petition signers, the overly friendly help with luggage at train stations. You learn to say a firm "no grazie" and walk away. Confidence is your best defense. You also prepare your tech. You download offline maps, have WhatsApp ready for messaging, and make sure your SIM or eSIM has enough data for navigation and translation on the go. A portable charger becomes your best friend during long travel days. And emergencies? You save the number 112, the European emergency line, just in case. You hope you'll never need it. But you feel good knowing you're prepared. You realize that traveling smart doesn't take the joy out of the trip. It frees you to enjoy it more fully, with fewer worries and a little more confidence in every step. You've planned well, learned the customs, and practiced saying grazie with just the right flair. But even with all your preparation, you know that every country has its own pitfalls. Little things first-timers often get wrong. So you do your research, not just to know what to do, but what not to do. First up, don't expect everything to run on time. Trains are generally prompt, but delays happen. Restaurants may open late. That 10 a.m. tour? It might start at 10:15. Italy runs on its own clock. The key isn't to stress, it's to adjust your expectations. You learn to build in buffer time and take delays as part of the charm. Then there's the overpacking trap, both in your suitcase and your itinerary. You hear it again and again. Don't try to see all of Italy in one trip. Rushing from Venice to Florence to Rome to Naples in a week leaves you exhausted and overwhelmed. Instead, you pick 2 or 3 regions and give yourself time to truly experience them. You don't want a photo album. You want memories that breathe. You also learn to watch out for restaurant red flags. Menus with 20 languages, waiters calling you in off the street, and flashy photos of spaghetti? Tourist traps. Instead, you find spots filled with locals, simple decor, and short menus. And you learn to make reservations, even for small places, especially on weekends. Walk-ins can be tough, and the best food isn't always easy to stumble upon. Another common misstep? Treating historical sites like theme parks. You've read stories of people climbing into fountains, touching delicate ruins, or speaking loudly in cathedrals. You promise yourself to be a respectful guest, not just a sightseer. Italy has protected its treasures for thousands of years. You'll honor them with quiet awe. You also decide not to overdo the selfies. Sure, you'll take photos, but you'll also take moments. Sit. Watch. Listen. Let Italy speak to you in silence, not through a lens. And finally, you remind yourself, don't expect Italy to be like home. That's the point. If everything worked the same way, it wouldn't be travel. It would be relocation. You're here to be challenged, delighted, even confused at times. That's how transformation begins. The last morning always feels different. You sit at a cafe, your final espresso warming your hands, and everything around you feels familiar now. The rhythm of clinking cups, the scent of fresh pastry, the swirl of conversation in a language you've grown to love. You're no longer a stranger to this world. Italy has shifted something in you. At first, you came looking for monuments and museums, pasta and piazzas, and you found them, yes. But what lingers in your memory isn't the postcard version of Italy. It's the unexpected moments. The elderly man in Naples who insisted you try a slice of his homemade pizza. The quiet bell ringing through a foggy Tuscan morning. The sunset over Florence that stopped you mid-step. You remember the feeling of Italy, not just its sights. You now understand the pause between coffee and conversation. The meaning of a slow lunch with no rush. The beauty of chaos in a Roman roundabout, where everything somehow flows. You've learned to walk a little slower, to observe more deeply, to eat with intention and joy. You've also grown more confident. You navigated trains and towns in a foreign language. You got lost and found something better. You made mistakes and were met with kindness. You became not just a traveler, but a temporary local, welcomed into a rhythm older and wiser than your own. You realized, too, that you didn't need to see everything. Italy isn't something to conquer or complete. It's something to return to, again and again, layer by layer. As you head to the airport, you look one last time at the street that's been your home for the past days or weeks. A woman waters plants from a balcony. A Vespa zooms past. Church bells ring. The scent of garlic floats from a window. You're already missing it, but you're also carrying it with you. Not in your suitcase, but in your senses, your pace, your way of seeing. Italy doesn't stay behind when you leave. It stays inside you. And now, every time you sip strong coffee, gather around a table, or pause to admire a sunset, you'll remember, you didn't just go to Italy, you let Italy change you.